Graceful communication is not about having the right phrases, nor is it limited to difficult conversations. It shows up in everyday interactions and how conversations begin, how they unfold, and how they end. When communication is graceful, it's often seen as composed, dignified, and quietly confident, even in ordinary exchanges. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 foundational elements of graceful communication in a practical way you can immediately recognize and apply. Welcome back to Gracefully Lori. I'm Lori, and if you're new here, this channel explores what graceful living looks like in everyday life, from communication to choices to how we move through the world. This video is part of a short 4-part series looking at what living gracefully actually looks like in practice. And today, we're focusing on communication, our first foundational element. There's a particular moment that changes the entire feel of a conversation. It's not when you begin or end speaking, and it's not when the other person responds. It's the moment before you speak, when you either feel the need to manage the moment or you don't. You start explaining before you've even finished listening. You soften a sentence that didn't need softening. You add context no one asked for. You answer quickly, just to keep things smooth. This happens when you're slightly ahead of the moment, and that changes how the conversation unfolds. Now, let's think about conversations that feel easy. You pause, you listen, you respond when it's your turn. Your words come out cleanly, without extra cushioning, without correcting yourself afterward, or without replaying them later. The difference isn't confidence, and it isn't assertiveness. It's presence. Here's a few everyday moments where this shows up clearly. Being asked for something you're unsure about. Instead of immediately saying yes, no, or explaining your reasoning, you pause and say, "Let me think about that and get back to you." No justification, no apology, just steadiness. When someone disagrees with you, instead of rushing to clarify or defend, something I've struggled with, you let them finish and say, "I see it differently." And you stop there. Not because you don't have more to say, but because you trust yourself to continue if it's needed. An unexpected question. Instead of filling the space, you allow a beat. You don't rush to sound articulate. You don't act thoughtful. Instead, you take a breath, then you answer. That pause does far more work than extra words ever could. Graceful communicators aren't trying to sound calm. They are calm because they're not ahead of the moment. They don't steer the conversation prematurely. They let it reveal itself before deciding how to respond. Practically, that looks like answering one question instead of 3 unspoken ones, letting silence exist without fixing it, trusting that fewer words can still be clear. I've struggled with this as well. And allowing a moment before responding. When you stay present in the moment, you stop managing the conversation. Your body relaxes. Your words land cleanly. This is where graceful communication begins, not with saying the perfect thing, but allowing your words to come from a steady place. Foundational element 2. There's a subtle difference between listening and allowing someone to feel heard. Most women are good listeners. They pay attention, they're engaged, they're responsive. And yet, some conversations still feel like they are too much effort, even when both people are being polite and thoughtful. This is usually because listening becomes preparatory. You're hearing the words, but a part of you is already forming a response, interpreting meaning, or deciding where the conversation should go next. You feel the urge to reassure them before they finish. You show immediate understanding without the completed thought. You clarify the meaning too quickly. You respond to the emotion before the thought is complete. As a result, the conversation may subtly tighten because the other person hasn't finished expressing themselves. Graceful communication shifts when listening becomes an experience. The listener stays present long enough for the speaker to finish thinking, not just talking, and that changes everything. Graceful communication includes the ability to receive without reshaping what was offered. So here are some real life examples. Example number 1, someone is explaining something emotional. Instead of responding with, "I totally get that, it makes sense because da-da-da-da-da," you pause and say, "Tell me more about that," and let them continue. Example 2, someone shares a frustration. Instead of reassuring or fixing, you say, "What part of that was hardest for you?" And you listen to the answer. Example 3, a conversation feels slightly unclear. Instead of assuming meaning, you ask, can you help me understand what you mean by that? Not defensively, not critically, just openly. These responses don't steer the conversation, they deepen it. You're no longer managing pace or outcome. You're allowing clarity to emerge on its own. And the surprising result is this: you don't have to work as hard when it's your turn to speak, because when someone feels heard, they're already halfway toward understanding you. This is one of the most understated elements of graceful communication, the ability to listen without shaping and to receive without rushing. Grace shows up not only in what you say, but in how much room you allow before you say it. Foundational element 3. We've all been there at one time or another, listening to that person who continues to explain well past our understanding. It happens not because they're confused or lack confidence, but because they're trying to make sure they're fully understood. Graceful communication often appears in what isn't said, in conversations that feel clean and grounded. Women don't narrate their thinking. They don't soften every edge. They don't explain past the point of clarity. They say what they mean, and then they allow it to stand. You can feel when expression tips into excess. It sounds like adding background no one asked for, justifying a decision after it's already been made, explaining your tone instead of trusting it, continuing to talk because silence feels uncomfortable. Again, nothing is wrong. This isn't about insecurity, it's habit. But those extra words often dilute the message and create more work for both people. Graceful communicators trust that clarity doesn't need padding. Kindness doesn't require explanation. A complete thought can be brief. That can look like answering the question that was asked and stopping, making a statement instead of making a case, allowing a pause instead of filling space, trusting that your words don't need defending. Here are some real life examples. Example 1, declining something. Instead of, I'd love to, but I'm just really busy lately and I don't want you to think, you say, sorry, I'm not able to, and you stop. Example 2, offering an opinion. Instead of, this might not be right, but I was thinking maybe, you say, I see it as, and then complete that thought succinctly, and you let the conversation respond. Example 3, setting a boundary. Instead of over-explaining, you say, that doesn't work for me. Not sharply, not apologetically, just clearly. When you express yourself without excess, your words feel more solid. They land. They don't wobble. You don't feel the need to revisit them later. Graceful communication doesn't come from saying more. It comes from trusting that what you said is enough. Foundational element 4. No conversation unfolds perfectly. There are misunderstandings, different perspectives, moments where the energy shifts slightly. Graceful communication doesn't avoid these moments. It changes how they're handled. The difference is rarely what happens. It's how quickly the moment takes over. You can feel it when a comment lands wrong and you rush to fix it. Someone reacts and you immediately match their energy. The conversation becomes about tone instead of meaning. At that point, the moment is driving the exchange instead of the people in it. Graceful communicators don't rush to correct, they don't harden, and they don't retreat. They stay steady long enough to let the moment settle before responding. That can look like asking a clarifying question instead of reacting, lowering your pace when the energy rises, responding to what was meant, not just how it was said, allowing space before deciding what needs to be addressed. Here are some real-life examples. Example 1, a misunderstanding. Instead of defending, you say, I want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. Example 2, a tense moment. Instead of matching urgency, you pause and say, let's slow this down for a moment. Example 3, a comment that feels off. Instead of reacting immediately, you say, can you tell me a little more about that? These responses don't escalate, they stabilize. When you stay steady, tension doesn't have to turn into conflict. Most moments pass more easily when they're met with calm instead of force. Graceful communication doesn't dominate the moment, it grounds it. Foundational element 5. There's one final place graceful communication shows up, and it's after the conversation ends. You can usually tell how a conversation went by what happens next. Do you replay it, re-explain it to yourself, feel the urge to follow up, or do you simply move on? When communication isn't managed gracefully, it may linger. You think, I should have said that differently. I hope that didn't come across wrong. Maybe I need to clarify. Even when nothing went wrong, it just stays with you. Graceful communicators leave conversations complete, not abruptly, not coldly, but cleanly. That often comes from not over-explaining in the first place, letting words land without chasing them, trusting that clarity doesn't need reinforcement. If you have successfully ended a conversation, you don't reopen it later, you don't replay it in your head. You feel settled instead of unfinished. When communication is grounded, it doesn't follow you around afterwards. Clean communication creates emotional ease. You're not carrying conversations forward. You're not managing perceptions after the fact. You said what you meant, you listened well, and you stayed steady. That's enough. So graceful communication isn't about personality or polish. It shows up when you're present in the moment, you receive before responding, you express yourself without excess, you stay steady when energy shifts, and you let conversations end cleanly. These are small choices, but together they change how communication feels in your body and in your life. Graceful communication doesn't make conversations perfect. It makes them easier to live inside of. You don't leave wondering what you should have said. You don't feel the need to manage what happened, and you don't carry unnecessary weight with you. That ease is not accidental. It's the result of presence, restraint, and self-trust, practiced quietly over time. So, which of these elements stood out to you most? Being present in the moment, receiving well, expressing yourself without excess, staying steady, or leaving conversations clean? Please share with me in the comments. I love hearing your thoughts. And if this video resonated with you, please like it and consider subscribing. And if you're enjoying this series on what graceful living actually looks like in everyday life, I'd love for you to join me for the next video. Until next time, my graceful friends.